Author Oliver Burkeman explains that the key concept in time management is to accept your own finitude rather than look for shortcuts or tricks that might solve your prioritization issues. Time management is a psychological issue rather than a more practical one. And so by accepting your finitude and organizing your task management system around that key philosophical concept, now you can live a more fulfilling life, diminishing your stress significantly after practicing for long enough. And this Notion template takes some of the core principles from Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks Time Management for Mortals and distills them into a simple system that is available for free. So you can decide to duplicate the system in Notion or just watch the video to understand the key structure, and you can replicate the things that you see here into your own system. And the foundation of this overall system is composed of 3 databases. So it's a very simple one, but the concept behind it is what's the reason for which I've created this template. So there are 3 databases. The first one is buckets, and these are the areas of your life. And there are goals, so the objectives that you intend to achieve in a certain time period, and tasks, actionable items that can be closed or opened, as Oliver Burkeman explains. Closed tasks are the ones that you are deciding to work on because you understand that you only have a finite amount of time, both in this life and right now, and you can only focus on at most 10 tasks per day. That's the simplified rule that Oliver Burkeman suggests in his book. Work on 10 closed tasks at a time. And when you complete a closed task, then you can move one task in your open list from the open list to the closed list. So at any given time, you can have maximum 10 tasks that are considered closed that you're working on. This template also has a goals screening exercise that you might want to follow if you are new to Notion, for example. You just want to play around a bit before getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Here is a goals screening page, and you can start from the very top here. And this is a sort of guided exercise that helps you establish your goals. And based on that, you can then start breaking them down into tasks and define those tasks as open or closed and work on them accordingly. The other key page that you can find on this template is the daily focus dashboard. And this is a dashboard. So that's where action happens truly on a daily basis, and where you manage your tasks that will eventually lead you to the achievement of goals in this overall framework. And so on the daily focus dashboard, you can find your closed tasks, the ones that you are consciously deciding to work on, maximum 10. And on the right-hand side, you can find a list of open tasks right here that you can put from at any time. So once you complete a closed task, then there is a space now for an additional task that you can add to your list. Or at least that's the rule that you can decide to follow or not. That's up to you completely. But that's what the template is designed around. And so if you have a new space in the closed list, then you can just drag and drop an open task into your closed task list. And you can relate it to a goal. And once you're done, then you can mark it as done. So this system really is boiled down to the very foundational parts of a task management system. Besides the open task list on the right-hand side, there is also the waiting on list. And these are the tasks that you're waiting on. So you might have delegated them, or you might be waiting for a response from one of your collaborators. So you don't want to necessarily lose them in your system. And so this is where they are stored, because the statuses available are open, closed, or waiting on. So whenever you change the status of a task to waiting on, then it will appear right here and get moved out of the closed list. And so the closed list, this color block right here, is where you will truly take action. These are the tasks that you are deciding to work on right now, maximum 10, as Burkeman suggests. And so the daily focus dashboard shows key data mainly from the tasks database. But let's start from buckets. So buckets is the master database where you have the key areas of your life. And in this particular example, I'm taking the concept of buckets from Cal Newport, where he suggests that to live a deep life, there are 4 main buckets each of us need to take care of. And these are constitution, your health, lifestyle, fitness; craft, that's your work; and leisure activity that requires some sort of manual or cognitive work; community, that's your participation in some sort of community activities; and contemplation, that is the philosophical inquiry to ensure that you can live a deep life, not just practically, but also in the mind. So contemplation is mostly the mind, whereas constitution is more of the body. According to Newport, these 4 buckets encompass what a deep life is about, and you can encompass any sort of goal or task within those buckets. But anyways, this is a Notion database, which means you are free to add your own buckets if you want to be more precise in the areas that you want to keep track of at any time. And whenever you add a new bucket, you can use the template setup goals, which you see is the default template. And that's a new feature of Notion that was released 2 days ago. You can set a template as a default, which means whenever you would create a new page in this database, that template, in this case, setup goals, will be automatically applied. And that saves a lot of time and sometimes ensures that the processes are very much smoother for teams especially. And to set up a default template, you can just click on the 3 dots right here and then select set as default. And Notion will ask you whether you want to set this as default on the entire database or on any specific view. In our case, we're going to set this as default on the entire buckets database because we want to have that structure applied every time a new bucket is created. For now, I'm not going to create a new bucket, but I'm going to open an existing one because the template is already applied and the structure is exactly the same for every bucket. So here we have a hover image, and then on the dashboard itself, there are a list of goals that relate specifically to this bucket and then are pulled from the goals master database because there is a direct relation between goals and buckets. And you can add goals directly from here as well. But later on, we're going to actually look at the master goals database and see what are the key properties and set up for that. And finally, we are still in the constitution bucket. Here, you will have your closed and open task lists. And so this is the exact same view that you have in your daily focus dashboard, but this is specific for this bucket. Here you have your list of closed tasks, then you have open tasks, waiting on, and completed tasks as well. The next key database is goals. So goals as well have a template that's called task setup and is default in this database, which means whenever you add a new goal, whether you choose the template or not, then you'll see that the template is automatically applied right here. And the key properties that we have here are the bucket. So that's where you relate the goal to one of those buckets that we have in the previous database. Then you have the start date, the end date, so that this goal can also appear on a timeline view. You have the reason for which you are pursuing this goal. And the progress bar is automatic based on the completed tasks because tasks are the most actionable items that would actually advance the objective or the goal right here. And that's why on the goal dashboard, we have a list of closed tasks and then the same exact structure that we have on the daily focus so that everything is consistent. And whenever you see tasks, you are reminded that you can only work on 10 tasks at a time. And that's what the closed task list is for. If you want to pull tasks from the open task list, you can do that freely. You can just open the toggle, drag and drop the task, but that's up to you. And finally, the tasks database is the master view where you can see all your tasks. And you have separate views here. You have an open list, you have the closed list right here, you have waiting on, and you can also see them by status. So open, closed, and waiting on all in one place. And finally, you have an archive view where you can see a list of completed tasks, which means where the done checkbox is checked. That's the master task database. But the key action for tasks, again, happens in the daily focus dashboard. And let's say you want to add a new task quickly, but that's not a closed task yet. It needs to be an open task. And that's why to add a new task, you can just open this toggle and then click on new. And if it's a quick capture, so you want to refine it later because you're working on something else right now, then you can just close this out. And here you have your open task in your open list. And when the time will come that you decide to work on this task, you can just drag and drop it right there. And then here is where you can actually do the refinement. If you want to choose a goal, then you can do that here. And once you're done, then you are done. Because these are essentially the properties that we have on the tasks database, only the essential ones. The relation to the goal, the status that can be open, closed, or waiting on, and the done checkbox once you've completed the task. And here, finally, on the daily focus dashboard, you can see a list of current goals. A goal is considered current in the system whenever the day falls between the start and the end date of the goal. And that's why these goals appear right here. Because, for example, for goal number 2, you will see that the start date is August 1st and the end date is August 31st. Since today is August 5th, we are between that time frame, and that's why this goal appears right here as a reference point for you to access at any time directly from your dashboard. Eventually, the key concept behind Oliver Burkeman's time management for mortals is that you are finite, and the only way to live a more fulfilling life that reduces stress significantly is to accept your finitude and not expect from yourself that you can do an infinite amount of things in the finite life that you have. And that is your closed task list, the things that you intend to do, while accepting that the open tasks list will never end until the end. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.